I'd like to welcome everybody tonight to our Select Board meeting, September 25th. And I remind everybody that under MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20F, this meeting is being recorded. We do have some acknowledgements. We would like to acknowledge the passing of Eddie Bolio, who was, I believe he was 107 years of age. We honored him at previous meetings. I think we all knew him. And I knew him only a little bit, but certainly a fine gentleman. And I remember him being the Grand Marshal in the parade a couple of years ago. But anyway, a great guy. Would anybody like to say anything about Eddie? Was he known as Fast Eddie?
Yes, he was.
Yes, okay. Great guy. And did you say, is it Ms. Gelton?
Linda Galton, our past superintendent, 2 superintendents ago, I believe. For 10 years. A wonderful woman.
And to both these people, we express our condolences to their families. Okay, the first item on the agenda is a public hearing, or 2 public hearings. One is a continuation from the previous meeting. And the first one is the request from Bootleg BBQ Westport LLC, located at 778 Main Road, for the change of category of liquor license from wine and malt license to all alcohol. Fred Melnett Jr., owner, manager. By the way, Jim Hartnett, our town administrator, is not with us this evening. He's traveling, so we'll just have to wing it without him. But anyway, would Mr. Melnick like to come forth and discuss this with us? And feel free to use that one. I'll come here, whatever is your preference.
Good evening. Yeah, we've been in business for a little over about 9 months now, and listening to some of my patrons that came in, we've just noticed that that they've are looking for different beverages that we don't offer, and it goes from having a paid beverage to ordering a glass of water. So this was just strictly a business decision to ask for a change in license, just because we're just watching revenue go out and not benefiting from the full liquor license.
This received a favorable report from the police. I performed both, this is from Lieutenant John Kuto. I performed both an in-house and an NCIC computer query and found no reason that the Board of Selectmen should not allow this change. Comments, questions from?
I have a question. How many available licenses do we have for full liquor? I didn't think we had any open licenses, but apparently we have at least one.
We have 5
5 open licenses?
for restaurant, all alcohol.
Restaurant,
Okay, all right.
yeah, not package store, restaurant. So they are available, and this establishment has done well, and it's been a good citizen, so I certainly am favorably disposed toward it. Any further conversation?
I'll move it. I'd just like them to look into the TIPS program. For some reason, Lieutenant Kudo didn't mention it. I'm not, through you, Mr. Chair. Oh, see if we got a second first.
A second.
All right. Through you, can we find out if you're going to do the TIPS for beer and wine? I didn't think so. But you have to do the TIPS program?
No, and we've only had waitresses, but that is the plan. We've already gotten some of the information. By the time we would have the actual license, that was the plan to have. Anybody who's going to serve mixed drinks would have tip certificate.
Okay,
tip
so my
certification.
motion just includes make sure you're all set with the TIPS program.
Would you mind telling the public what the TIPS program is, with the help of Ms. Hill?
I know the police department usually requires it. It's regarding the serving of alcohol and the proper methods. I believe it might be the laws too, but it's the methods in which they should do it and what to look for, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's to identify intoxication and the proper serving of measurement of the proper serving of alcohol.
Okay. Further discussion or comments from the Select Board? Motion has been made and duly seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Nobody's opposed. The motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, and I look forward to visiting your establishment often.
Thank you, thank you.
Great barbecue.
Gotta get by the bear first.
Yeah, right.
For a few more weeks anyway. All right,
Be well.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item, this is also a public hearing. A request from the Harbor Advisory Committee, it's a group, citizens group, for a slow, no-wake zone from the northern shore of Kirby Brook, perpendicular to 409 Pine Hill Road, then north to the head bridge, Old County Road. This particular item was continued from August 21st, 2023. So, anyway, at that meeting, we didn't come to a resolution, but we had a number of ideas that were floated around, and we're here to continue that and hope to gain agreement. So with us is Mr. Leonard, our harbor master, Mr. Avizito. Welcome back. And gentlemen, without Jim tonight to give us introductions, you'll have to wing it. So where are we at with this? And I know you've been working on it.
You want to start? Okay.
Sure. Christopher Leonard, Director of Marine Services. We started down in we started long ago with a lot of phone calls of annoyance of jet skis north of the bridge. And it was a very difficult thing to have to police. It's like catching fireflies. And we've had 2 harbor advisory meetings, 1 public hearing here, and now this is a continuation of the 2nd public hearing. And I think now, what is this, number 4?
Yeah.
I think we're here, and I don't want to say best and final, but we've come up with something that we started at Kirby Brook North, and then there was some discussion of Ames or Amy's Way, and we are in the middle, a la I Love Lucy, directly at Widow's Point. There was many factors that we had to look at, one of which was paddle crafts in this vicinity. Another one is having a turn or a blinded turn.
Yeah,
That
a real blind turn.
That we, somebody traveling at a high rate of speed might not see somebody in a slower moving craft. Also, north of Widow's Point, we do have submerged rocks, submerged logs. Nothing is marked beyond the north of Hicks Bridge. And as myself and many other prudent mariners, I go up to the head of Westport, unless it's emergency, at high tide and at low speed. And I think that it was a reasonable decision to draw a line in the sand, basically in the middle of the 2 other lines that were drawn, for the reason of the turn and the reason of submerged hazards in that vicinity. With the combination of paddlecraft, we think that this is a reasonable solution to the problem to place a slow no wake at the 418B Henry Arruda Lane across to Widow's Point. And in the middle of the river, there would be a slow no wake, and everything north of that up to the head of Westport Bridge would then be slow no wake.
Would that be marked by two buoys or just one?
Just one.
Yeah, okay. So we discussed 2 last time. I didn't know if that was necessary or not.
It might be possible to put a sign at the bridge, at
Yeah.
Head Bridge.
Ice is an
instead of a
issue.
buoy.
The water is very brackish up there, and it does freeze and things move around a lot. So
Mhm.
whether it's docks or private aids to navigation or anything like that.
Okay, I have a picture in the package here of the area in question. I know you can't see it for the public, but it's very much, pretty much up north where the river gets very, very narrow, as we discussed before. I don't have any further comments and questions, but other members of the Board of Selectmen?
See if the public's allowed to say.
Is that section of the river, I mean, we're talking the channel, is the channel marked up there where you're saying those hazards are?
No,
No.
nothing is
no
marked.
marking.
There's nothing marked north of the bridge. At low tide, it becomes desperately low and very skinny water in that location. So it's not advisable to take a boat up there at low tide. We do have skiffs that we could use and also jet skis in the event of an emergency in that location. But as for kind of 24-hour playtime in deep water, it doesn't exist up there.
How does enforcement take place? I know we talked about this before, where there's a jet ski user who goes too fast. By the time the police or you get there, they're probably gone.
Yes, we ask the public to take a picture, give a color description, because that's about all you're gonna get is a flash of green, red, white, gray. Something that's a signature of the ski that we know that we're looking for, because there are multiple vessels on the boat, and the river at times, and so you have to differentiate the vessel from somebody who is just enjoying the river, and not causing any problems, or somebody that is, acting up and not being a prudent mariner. So we would get the phone call. We would then either respond via vehicle or watercraft. The speed limit of our boats probably is somewhere in the 30-mile-an-hour range. So it is very difficult to intercept something of that capable speeding, so.
Well, we would hope that prudent users of the water would see that the no-wake zone buoy and then take note and be affected by that,
Yes.
hoping to make a safer situation for all. Are there any more comments from the Board of Selectmen? This is a public hearing. We welcome comments from the public if people want to speak. Go to the microphone, identify yourself, and we just ask to confine the comments to 5 minutes, which normally proves more than sufficient for members of the public.
My name is Jonas Levy. My family lives at 418 G Drift Road in Westport and have owned this property, paid taxes, and observed activity on the river for the last 63 years since 1966. My father unfortunately had to be overseas at this time and has asked me to read the following statement. Members of the Westport Board of Selectmen and women, thank you once again for your time and effort in serving the needs of the town. And thank you for hearing my wife Kay, and our larger family serious concerns about the life and safety, environmental impact implications of failing to enforce the town's waterways, rules, and regulations. During your previous session on this matter, I offered eyewitness accounts and submitted video proof of reckless behavior by operators of personal watercraft capable of going 60 miles per hour or more. This also applies to operators of motorboats with engines greater than 9.9 horsepower, some of whom, though not capable of going as fast, also threaten many kayakers, paddle boarders, canoers, and recently bathers that often cluster around the blind corner at Widow's Point. It is our belief that the board need take no action on this matter insofar as necessary rules and method of enforcement are already in place. In terms of whether boaters must comply with the rules adopted by this board, the regulations clearly state, quote, all mooring owners and users of the waterways are responsible for reading and obeying the waterways regulations. In terms of to whom and where the rules apply, the regulations adopted by this board already state, quote, there shall be no personal watercraft operation or water skiing within 400 feet of bathers, divers, piers, wharves, floats, moored boats, or any shore unless at headway speed or within a marked channel. It should be noted that while state regulations describe a more liberal 150-foot distance from shore, there is no reason why the town should be prevented from using and defending its own more rigorous standard as it does in many other matters. There is no conflict here. In terms of how the regulations adopted by this board shall be enforced, the rules state, quote, the regulations may be enforced by the harbor master, any assistant or deputy harbor masters, any police officer, or any other agent or person appointed by the Board of Selectmen. In other words, the board has already empowered the harbor master and police to enforce rules limiting the use of personal watercraft, and the state already empowers local authorities to limit the use of large horsepower motorboats. Harbor Master Leonard had proposed a modest and reasonable approach, designating an area for enforcement corresponding to a zone of the river far smaller than the area corresponding to the 800-foot width of the river, which could be determined by a strict reading of the regulations. The methods of enforcement, placing 2 warning buoys and hopefully occasional visits to the area on weekends at high tide, are also modest and imply little cost to the town. There is no competition between life safety and pleasure. High-speed watercraft users have many other locations where they can pursue pleasure and thrills without threatening life safety or damaging the environment. The harbor master and police should not be impeded from enforcing our town's regulations. To do otherwise imprudently places town finances in jeopardy by exposing it to the possibility of a future lawsuit stemming from failure to take simple measures to enforce existing regulations. More importantly, it would place the town in the position of exposing users of the river to danger of totally unnecessarily bodily harm due to a risk, the details of which it is now fully and publicly aware of. Respectfully, Jonathan and Kay Levy.
Thank you, but can I ask a question before you leave, sir?
What?
Can I ask you a question before you leave the microphone?
Sure.
Just for clarification, maybe just my confusion.
Yeah.
The proposal of Mr. Leonard regarding the buoy, so-called, is buoy the right word here?
Floating, yeah.
Floating device, that's not contrary to your father's reading from that letter, I understand.
I think that is correct, yes.
Okay.
I think it only sounds different of 2 buoys and then having, during the weekend at high tide, occasional people out observing and monitoring.
Okay. Okay, that's,
Okay.
does anybody else have a question on this? That was very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other members of the public who wish to speak?
Yeah. David De Lima, 418D Drift Road. I live right at Widow's Point, and witnessed this for years. And notwithstanding the fact that I think originally when we met with Chris, we were advocating it for farther south, a little bit farther south down by Prairie Brook. I think this is, considering all the circumstances, this is an admirable and appropriate compromise to start with, to see if it works and see how it goes. As to 1 or 2 buoys, it's hard to tell. I do think, I sort of agree with Jonathan that people at one end, it's clear people from the south coming north need to be noticed when they're coming up. It's a little more problematic. There's not that many more motorized vehicles coming from the north going south, although you could have a jet ski in between the two and not know that there's a no-wake zone. And I believe there are several who have jet skis who live between Widow's Point. But it's not a huge number. And lastly, I'll just throw this out as a wild card for future conversation. Maybe we can get a drone to go up and down.
Yeah. You got any budget?
Sure. I mean, the price is going down on drones. So
Everett Mills tells me that he has an extra drone, Chris, in case you want to talk to Everett, if you want to implement that'll be a little off the mark. But anyway, thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Other comments?
The police department has a drone, if you need one. Again, my name is Dave Simcoe, and I spoke at length the last time, and I'm not going to reiterate every comment again, but I did meet with the Harbor Advisory Committee, and they did move it further north, a couple 100 yards from where the original point is. But my thing is, it's not about jet skis. If it was just about jet skis, I wouldn't be here. It's about limiting the access for 2 miles of the river. And that's like saying, Old County Road, you have a school zone, you're gonna put a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit from 177 to the Dartmouth line. There are areas there that in front of Fallon Drive and in front of Sandpiper Drive, you can tow a kid on a tube, you can boat a little quicker, there are other activities you can do. And that's what I'm concerned with. It's not about that curve that's there, absolutely, 100%, it's a blind curve. There's never been, we don't have any accidents. And I can only go by, maybe it's my career in law enforcement, but when you do an investigation, you gather facts. You take the facts, you take an investigation, you take a study, you look at the problem from up here. And you don't just take a couple of complaints from somebody because it's just the complaints coming from land. There's nobody that's come from water. There's not one person so far that has come up and said, hey, I was in a kayak, I was run over by a jet ski. That isn't what we're up against right now. As far as, you had a question, there are some rocks that are marked up there that by private citizens. I take my sup or a kayak every spring and I start at the head at low tide, I bottom out, but I end up coming down and I check where all the new trees have fallen, where rocks are, and see where things are. Because if I don't familiarize myself, I'm gonna end up losing a lower leg, and nothing humbles you more than that when you figure out that, there's an issue. So you don't, I've never seen anybody go up there through the rocks like a maze, and it just doesn't happen. The jet ski issue, I can't tell you that there isn't a jet ski issue. Like every once in a while, some jet ski goes up there, but there's always some chowderhead that decides to do something stupid. You're not gonna get away from that. That's on the entire river. And where does it end? We're just gonna put a no wake zone, we're just gonna keep expanding it, go down, next thing you know, it's just like, there goes the activities for young people, children, adults. I mean, I still ski. But that's my thing. But I do appreciate the Harbor Advisory Committee. They met last week, and they did listen. A couple of them, I think, were kind of unfamiliar with the area. They looked at a chart, but I don't think they actually went up there and saw it for themselves of what the area is. And like I said, I appreciate your consideration on this, but I would appreciate some type of a study or something looked at, and definitely enforcement. And if the harbor master wants to send a crew down, it's on my property, to sit on my dock to observe something, drive down my laneway and come by vehicle without a boat or leave a boat there, I don't care. I'd help them out, but that's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Simcoe. Other comments from the public? What is the privilege of the committee on this matter?
Chair, I put in that Hicks Bridge, I put in that State Pier, and for years and years. This summer, after this happened, I started putting my son's skiff in over at Hicks Bridge, kind of looking at. What I see is, I kind of agree with the gentleman that just spoke about, enforcing this on all boats. There are people that live on the river up there that at high tide go up all the time, during high tide. And if they're gonna have to, troll all the way up, no wake, I don't think that's fair to them. And what I do see is, I think it's a presence issue. Like you said, you don't have the manpower to presence, but I think some of the things I watch, just trying to take the boat in and out, is if we could have more of either harbor master or police presence at the landing when it's busy. I was at the state landing the other day, when it's, everybody's coming in at a certain time, on the weekend. And I know I watch, I've been in the Taunton River my whole life too, and you got, all the different harbor masters out there, and during the busy season, you got the blue lights out there. It keeps people, you're gonna get those people that abuse it, but it's unfortunate that everybody else is gonna have to feel the brunt of it. And I don't know how you're gonna enforce it. It's gonna be the legitimate person in a skiff going up there with a wake. And you can't do that anymore, and that's the guy you're gonna catch, because you're not gonna catch the jet ski. That's my feeling.
Well, thank you. I'm not responding to Mr. Soares. I appreciate his comments. I admit, as we said last time, this is a modest approach. It's not a big step. Other people who were here last time and testified wanted more and concerned about other parts of the river, but it was felt, I thought there was a consensus that we wanted to do something in the interest of public safety, knowing full well that this wouldn't solve all problems and it might fall unevenly on on people depending on what kind of watercraft they're using and so on and so forth. But I would support a motion, if one is made to, because I think it's a reasonable approach. We may find out that 2 years from now it wasn't a good idea, and we have to amend it. And we would monitor it and study it and understand it better and maybe go in a different direction. So that's what I would suggest.
I move we establish a no-wake zone as proposed by the Harbor Advisory Committee.
Do I hear a second? I'm willing to second that. Further discussion on the motion? Any more comments from the public? Anybody else has anything to say? I don't think there's anybody who's interested in talking, but anyway, thank you for your comments. We appreciate that. All right, if there's no further discussion, I would say it's time to vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
That's you, two, so three, you're opposed? So 2 in favor, 3 opposed. So the motion fails. So that's the action of the Board of Selectmen. You've heard our views. There's a difference of opinion on this. That happens. We may be back here another time discussing this, looking for a different solution that can pass with the Board of Selectmen. You heard my view on that, but so be it. We took a vote, and we're not taking any action on this. I do want to show my appreciation for everybody who worked on this and worked hard on this, including members of the public and the Small Harbor Advisory Committee. So I thought these are all sensible and reasonable approaches. But this is the vote of the Board of Selectmen, and that's all we can do this evening. But I want to thank everybody for participating on this issue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Do you want to move up his solid one?
Yeah, let's do the other items.
Sure.
For scallop season.
Yes.
We're going to go out of order here. Mr. Leonard has another item. Which one is that, Shana?
3F, or 4F.
4F, regarding scallops. Request from Chris
Can I
Leonard.
say scallops correctly this time?
Scallop?
So you know, for the record.
Okay. Request from Chris Leonard, Director of Marine Services, to open Bay scallop season at sunrise on October the 14th, 2023.
Yes. Yep. I'm not going to say that it's going to be a great season, but we would like to give the public the opportunity to go out and try. And so it's usually October 15th, but that falls on a Sunday, so we bumped it back a day. So it would open 8 a.m. on October 14th to let people go out and try. What usually happens is people will go and they'll get a family scallop license. They'll go around and see if they can find anything. If it's really good, they can trade the family license back in again to offset a commercial license, because you can't hold a family and a commercial license. So we want to be able to give everybody the opportunity to go out there and see if they can get dinner or get a new outboard, depending on how good it is. So we're going to see. I mean, we have high hopes to be like Nantucket, where every year they just keep coming back, but it really seems that it's a once every 15 years type of thing where we have, and for my best study on it is that we need a drought early on when the spawn happens, so the freshwater influence will not kill the small little animals after spawning season. So bay scallops are 2-year animals. After 2 years, that's it. So they have that's their life expectancy. So I would just ask the board that we can give it a try on October 14th at 8 a.m.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the
So
committee?
may I move it?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion?
Just we appreciate him keeping it on the weekends. Many years ago, it used to be during the week, and you know, the thing was fished out by the weekend, so we appreciate you keeping it. Everybody has an opportunity.
Yes.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any comments from the public at all? Okay, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Leonard.
you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
being here
Have a good
tonight.
night.
Appreciate it. I hope nobody would object if I move this around a little bit, because Beverly, you have two people you want to introduce, and rather than sit through all the other licenses and things.
It's interesting.
The first person is Lee Benoit.
The 3B.
Libby.
No,
And,
3B.
Yeah, this is 3B, item 3B.
okay.
Moving 3B first.
Let me just read a request from Beverly Bish to appoint Lee Benoit to the part-time position of van driver, 1975 hours per week.
This is Lee Benoit. She had approached me a few weeks back, maybe about 6 weeks back. She is currently a van driver for another organization. She's got a CDL license, she's got all of her trainings, and I was thrilled to have somebody come on board who's well-trained and, did all the paperwork. So she'll be doing her orientation and training with us. She has worked in the field, worked with seniors, worked with people with disabilities. So I present Lee.
Okay, welcome aboard. Lee,
Maybe.
if you-
Maybe. He's kidding.
Well, I'm kidding.
I try to be positive.
Everybody's
Not like the rest of
nervous.
these people here. Well, do you wish to say anything to us this evening?
No.
I'm glad to have
So
you.
do her job.
We're glad to have you here as a
I'll
candidate.
over.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion, comments, questions? All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Passes unanimously. Now, welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard. Yes.
Best of luck to you. Thank you.
Okay.
You have another
And I
item.
have another person. You have a seat if you want, and then we'll walk right after. So, the second individual is
Okay.
Marie Andrade Hermot. I said it right? Okay.
So I'll read that, which I guess I have to do for the record. The request from, this is 3A now, request from Beverly Bish to appoint Maria Andrade Hermot to the part-time position of Assistant Director, 19.75 hours per week. Beverly?
A few years ago, and just before COVID, I lost part of a grant, and my volunteer coordinator position was furloughed, and that has been furloughed since COVID. We hadn't had anybody back. And I met with my board back about 6 months ago. We talked about revamping it to assistant to the director, because in a few years I might retire, and if I retire, I want to make sure that I have somebody who understands what I do, and we don't just stop like last time and just kind of leave it hanging, because we've worked, all of us, my board from prior, my board now, have worked so hard to really change the culture in the COA, to get grants, to really provide the programs, and we know there's going to be more and more seniors. So we know going forward that this is going to be a really critical part of town departments, to be able to manage and to assist a lot of the seniors in town. So we thought the position, we redid it. We included some of the volunteer coordinators' job responsibilities, along with some other responsibilities too, and came up with the assistant to the director's position. And the personnel board has already approved it. It's going to be grant funded. It's not going to come out of the town funds, and up to 19 3/4. Maria applied for the position. Great personality. I was thrilled to have her come in. She's also fluent in Portuguese, which is a big thing for our community, because that's one of the things that we don't always have. And I thought that was really critical to have somebody come on that could do that. So I present Maria.
Well, welcome aboard. Thank you. Welcome aboard. In a few
Tentative.
Thank you for being here tonight. And do you have anything to say or comments to this?
Looking forward to starting.
There you go. I'll move.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously. And now officially, welcome aboard. Glad to have you.
That was easy.
Thank you,
Do you want to do
Beverly.
the donations?
Can we move up to
Sure.
that?
Yeah.
Well, I just figured while I was
4E.
here.
4E.
Okay, 4E, do you wish to read that for
I'll
us?
read it. I move we accept the following donations for the Council on Aging. $30 Liz Taylor Tech Help, $10 Orikea Outreach, $2 Anonymous Best Use, $40 Janice Gillette Equipment Loan, $200 Anonymous Best Use, $60 Nancy Kelly Best Use Yoga Boosters, and $14 Anonymous Hospitality.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. It passes unanimously. Thank you. Appreciate it. Anything else?
Is that the only other one? Did you have any more?
No. Just some updates on things going on at the COA if you have the time. I don't know if you want it or
Yeah,
not.
quickly.
Okay.
It's not on the agenda, but
No,
it's
no, no.
okay.
Tomorrow, volunteer appreciation is going to be at Bittersweet. It's going to be one of the first times that we actually have all the volunteers being served as opposed to them serving us. And it's so difficult sometimes to plan a program at the center without having the volunteers working. And I really didn't want them to work. I did last year's formula grant. I had to do a report. And on that report, there were almost 5,000 hours given last year. And even if you just put $15 an hour in, that's a significant amount of money that it saves the town for doing the landscaping and the supportive day program group and reception. Reception is critical to what we do. So I really wanted to make sure that we thanked the volunteers because a lot of times they're in and out, and I don't always get to thank them. And I said, this is really important to do. So we're doing that. The weekend, the South Coast Harvest Festival, we're gonna have a table there. And promote and market our center so that people do know more about us. The more seniors that we reach, the more time seniors know. We did have a survey, and we had an open house this summer. And in the open house, we had over 60 people that came into the open house. And 2/3 of them didn't even know that we existed. And they came in and they were like, wow, I didn't even know you guys did this. Which is really nice because I got 8 new volunteers and different. I have a nurse manager who's going to come in and volunteer to do nutrition and diabetes training once a month, and it's great. Like, it's really reaching out to the community. So that's what we're trying to do to get the community involved. And then the middle of October, Massachusetts Councils on Aging has their 3-day conference this year. It's up in Danvers. 2 of my technology volunteers are presenting along with myself for best activities, best practices. So they're doing a presentation with one of the Williamstown, it's Westport and Williamstown COA that are doing a presentation because we're really sort of above a lot of other COAs. That comes with having a lot of the grants and getting a lot of the staff involved to do that. And the critical part, technology is just with us every day, and many of the seniors, they need it to do the banking, they need it to do their medical, they need it to do their prescription plan, everything, and it's moving in that direction, and we really need to make sure that they're on board and we can work with them to do it. It's a critical need right now, so we've probably reached about 600 since we started the program, the technology program in 21. We've probably reached about 600. We've probably done about 600 classes and one-to-one. And we do a lot of one-to-one. You get a new phone, and I bet you any one of you have gotten a new phone and said, how do I do this? Now what do I do? How do I turn it down as it's going off in the middle of a meeting? Or, how do I use my iPad or my laptop? Oh, my laptop. Okay, that's not there anymore. Where do I find it? You have to search it. So it really is critical for many of our seniors, and we're trying to reach a younger group of seniors. The survey we did was from 50, I believe, to, 100. And we just celebrated 100th birthday for one of our supportive day people. She came in, she comes to our supportive day, and she's a hoot, and she came to our picnic. We had the Forever Fab Beatles group, Beatles tribute group, and the people in our group got up and they danced and they did a conga line, and she's up there dancing, 100 years old, dancing and doing the conga line with everybody else.
She's from town.
And singing.
She's from town? Yeah. Unfortunately, we're gonna be looking for somebody that can close the cane to now, so.
Oh.
So I might wanna see if she's
Yeah.
the oldest.
Yeah, she's 100,
100,
so,
yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, so it's busy. The center's extremely busy with all of the things we do. We do the Walk for Westport, of course, at the end of October. And then in November, we do the Veterans Breakfast also. And we're doing a technology fair on October 28th at the center. So this is just one of the busiest falls I've ever had in my 9 years being there already. It's like, wow. Believe it or not, I'm in my 9th year, believe it or not.
So you're having fun. That's
That's
what I'm getting out of this.
I'm having a blast. But I want to make sure that we prepare and we plan to make sure that we can hand it over so that it's a smooth transition and not just a drop off, because I think it's critical. So,
Great. Well, keep up the good work.
thank you very much.
Time
Thank
to
you.
work on the Christmas party now.
Oh, my goodness. I know, huh? I was thinking about taking December off, but I don't think that's going to happen. So thank you,
Thank you,
folks, very
Beverly,
much.
and again, thank you for being here. Okay, where were we? Licenses and permits, I believe we haven't done any of that yet from No notes. So, the first item under licenses and permits is the preliminary approval of, well, this is the one we're going to take some time doing. Let me do the other one first. Let's do 2B first because it's quicker. The request from the Westport Rivers Winery and Buzzards Bay Brewing for a one-day liquor license for September the 28th, 2023. That's from 5 to 9 p.m. This day, or this night, is the preview night of the Westport Harvest Festival, this week, obviously, at the Westport Fairgrounds, 200 Pine Hill Road. So this is a request from the Westport Rivers Winery to be able to dispense liquor at the fairgrounds for the first night. I'm not sure what the preview night is, but that's what it's all about.
But I'll go with the town administrator's recommendation. We approve with subject to police report.
I'll second.
Is it good? All right. So we don't, Paula says the report came through positive, so we don't need that. Just moving it.
I'll second.
A motion made and seconded. I should have read some of these before, but Jim Hardnetto, not here, he's made some comments. He said in this particular item, he does recommend approval subject to the police report. So motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Well, that passes unanimously. Okay. Now, we have 2A. This will take a little more time. You have a list that was given to you by Paula. So this is the list of the licenses in various categories: motor vehicles, victualers, liquor, so on and so forth. And as most of you know, the way we do this, it's sort of like the way the town moderator does it at town meeting. We go through each item, and if there's no comment, we assume that's acceptable. We keep going on. Anything that needs further discussion or more information, we put a hold on it. And then after we go through the list, which is lengthy, then we will take a vote, if you are so inclined, to approve those that are not on hold. So those are the ones that meet everybody's approval, basically, and do not appear to have any complications. So then we dispense with those. That would be the largest number. Then the other items, we try to get back within 2 weeks. Our next meeting is actually on the 10th, which is 2 weeks and 1 night, because of the Columbus Day weekend. And if we can do them, we will. Sometimes these things spill over for another meeting, but we try to then wrap them all up because people are in business and want to get moving, as you know. So what I'm going to do is read. I'm going to ask everybody to participate in the reading, so I don't want to be stealing all the limelight here. Again, so I'll just read the first full page here, and the other page that has 2 items on it, and then turn it over to somebody else. And so that's the drill. Any questions on the procedure? I think it's one that's familiar to
I'm
all
just
of
gonna
us.
say hold on the ones we wanna hold.
That's right. You don't have to give the reason now.
No, but I would say these with the highlights are issues, correct?
Yeah, Jim and Paula went through that, and those are ones, for various reasons,
Okay.
we were putting them on hold. All right, so with that being the case, let me start with Class 1 motor vehicle, Bulldog Fire Apparatus, and JP Trailer Manufacturing.
Are we waiting for all of them before we approve?
Yes, yeah, I just, those are on a separate page, I wanted to get those out of the way. So I'll read this page and then ask for somebody else. Let me finish this section, it goes on to the next page with 3 items. Okay. A, Auto Sales, 3D Auto Sales Incorporated.
Hold.
That's a hold.
I'll let you do it, Steve.
Paul, are you marking the hold? You probably know these already. Okay, the next item is Advanced Motor Sales and Service, Affordable Auto Leasing Incorporated, Amaral Bus Company Incorporated, doing business as Amaral Bus Truck Sales and Service, Auto Plus Motor Cars, Bolio's Garage, Charlie's Auto, Dan's Auto Sales, Distinctive Auto Body Refinishing and Sales Limited, Barrera's Auto Body and Sales, Barrera's Auto Sales and Marine Annex, Marine Sales and Service, Frank E. Brayton Jr. Auto Sales and Service Incorporated, G&S Used Auto Sales, G. Souza's Hillside Motors, Inc., Glenwood Auto Sales.
Hold.
There's a hold on that, okay. Paul, if you know of any reasons for these putting on hold that you wish to put forth, feel free to do so. If not, we'll just Then there's Greenwood Park Motors Incorporated, Hala Auto Sales, Hometown Motors, Horseneck Auto Sales, Inc., iCars, Inc., J&L Pondview Auto Sales Corp., JBS Towing Services Corp., JK and Sons Auto Sales Incorporated, John Soares Village Garage Incorporated. I see this listed twice. Is there a reason for that? Probably. So I'll read it twice. John Soares Village Garage Incorporated. LeClaire's Auto Sales, New Way Auto Sales, Omaala Auto Sales. Several entries here. Prestige Auto Mart Incorporated, a second entry to Prestige Auto Mart Incorporated, and then a third entry relating to the same business. Apparently is Prestige Auto Mart Incorporated doing business as Westport Auto Center. Okay. The next item is R&R Auto Body. That's put on hold for whatever reason. The next item is Richard Mendes doing business as Mendea Auto Sales. Rob's Auto Care Incorporated. Samuel Ferreira doing business as Samuel Ferreira Used Auto
Can you
Sales.
clarify? On Richard Mendes, is that a typo? That's a typo. It should be Mendes Autos.
Both Mendes, yeah. Richard Mendes and Mendes Auto Sales, okay. Thank you for pointing it out, Mr. Steve Willett, thank you. So next one I think is Soma, S-O-M-A, capital S, small o, capital N-A, Soma Imports Incorporated. And two items of similar nature, State Road Auto Sales, Inc., doing business as State Road Auto Sales, and then State Road Auto Sales, Inc., doing business as State Road Auto Sales Annex 1. The next item is Sue's Auto Sales.
Hold.
It's on hold. Tech Auto World LLC, Thad's Auto Salvage Incorporated, Top Quality Auto Sales. And on the next page, the last three are Top Quality Auto Sales. That's probably the same business with different reasons for the two licenses. Westport Auto and RV Center, and the last one is the Windmill Cycles. Okay?
Want me to do the next few?
Sure. I'm looking for volunteers.
For motor
Thank you.
vehicle class 3, Atlantic Salvage Inc., Mid-City Scrap Iron Inc., Robert J. Damaris, Thad's Auto Salvage Inc. Repair, Adamsville Garage, Advanced Motor Sales and Service, Amaral Bus Company Inc., doing business as Amaral Bus Truck Sales and Service, Barry's Mobile Automotive,
Hold.
Boyer's Garage, Charlie's Auto, Distinctive Auto Body Refinishing and Sales Limited, East Coast RV and Auto Repair, Fern's Auto Repair, Ferrero's Auto Body and Sales, 5 Star Collision Inc., 4 Square Village Garage, G. Souza's Hillside Motors Inc., Glenwood Auto Detailing,
Hold.
Integrated Street Performance, JBS Towing Services Corp., JK and Sons Auto Sales Inc., Joe's Auto Repair, John Soares Village Garage Inc., Lou's Custom Exhaust, Macramer's Garage, Martin's Auto Repair, Mendes Auto Repair, New Way Auto Sales, Prestige Auto Mart Inc., Rob's Auto Care Inc., Rob's Auto Care Inc., Thad's Auto Salvage Inc., Westport Tire Inc., State Road Auto Sales, Rogers Automotive Inc., Westport Auto Clinic, Wilfred's Garage Inc., Whaling City Transit Inc., Top Quality Auto Sales, R&R Auto Body and Sales,
Hold.
Route 6 Gas, Top Quality Auto Sales.
Okay, do you wish to continue? I have somebody else.
I can go.
You want to go? Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
These are liquor licenses, Acoxit Club, DBA, Acoxit Club Inc., Bad Kitty, DBA, The Back Eddy, Bittersweet Restaurant Inc., Bootleg Barbecue, Buzzards Bay Brewing Inc., Compton Clam Bakes and Catering, Country Liquor and Variety,
Hold.
Cumberland Farms Inc., number 2234, Hampton Inn, Harry's Country Store Inc., Holiday Lanes, Holy Ghost Club of Westport Inc., Cozy Nick Restaurant, Lee's Market Grocery, Noah L. Inc., DBA Village Market, Oriental Pearl, Pine Hill Gas and Convenience, Portis de Ciudad, S&H Supreme Liquor Inc., Star Country Store and Deli,
Hold.
Supreme Gas, 10 Cousins Brick Oven, the Bayside Restaurant,
Hold.
the Westporter,
Hold.
Town Place Suites, Village Pizza, WANR Roulette Post, number 8502, Westport Club, it's a social club, Westport Market, Westport Rivers, Westport Wine and Spirits, White's Restaurant.
Bottom.
Can we keep going?
No, you missed up two at the bottom. Seasonal Wine and Malt, a Cooksit Club, DBA, a Cooksit Club Inc., DBA, The Pro Shop, and a Bay Breeze Inc.
Hold.
No.
Those are seasonal.
Alright.
Okay, victulars, does somebody else want to chime in, Steve?
All right, common control of this. Cooksit Club Inc., Cooksit Club Inc., excuse me, Cooksit Club Inc., doing business as a pro shop. Alex A. Macumber Primary School, Back Kitty, doing business as the Back Eddy. Bay Breeze Inc., Westport Sea Farms, Bittersweet Restaurant Inc., Buzzards Bay Brewing Inc., Compton Clan Bakes and Catering, Country Liquor and Variety,
Hold.
Cumberland Farms Inc., 2234 State Road, Cumberland Farms 2273 Main Road, Delano's Daily Grind,
Hold.
Dunkin' Donuts, Fall River Rod and Gun Club, Jean's Meat Market, Gooseberry Natural Foods, Hampton Inn, Handy Hill Enterprises, Harry's Country Store Inc., Holiday Lanes, Holy Ghost Club of Westport Inc., Honeydew Donuts, Kathy's Coffee Shop and Creamery LLC, Cozy Nook Restaurant, Lee's Market, Lexi Lou's Place, Lexi's Roadside Dogs, Lickety Splits, Nick's Homemade Pizza, Noel Inc. doing business as Village Market, Nokachoke Hall Association, Olympia Pizza, Oriental Pearl Restaurant, Our Lady of Grace Church, Pocatuck Inn, Paradise Hill Farm, Partners Village Store, Perry's Bakery Inc., Pine Hill Gas and Convenience Inc., Portis de Ciudad, Ray's Kettle Corn, S&H Supreme Liquors Inc., St. John the Baptist Church, Stacy Cakes Tea Shop and Cakery, Stock Country Store and Deli,
Hold.
Supreme Gas, 10 Cousins Brick Oven, the Bayside Restaurant, the Head Town Land and Country Store, the Westporter, Timo's Pizza, Village Pizza, WANR Willette Post 8502, Weatherlow Farms LLC, Westport Club Inc., Social Club, Westport Council on Aging, Westport Country Day School, Westport Elementary School, Westport Fair Inc., Westport Gas, Westport Junior Senior High School, Westport Lobster Company, Westport Market, Westport Meats, Westport Point United Methodist Church, Westport Rivers Inc., Westport Town Hospitality doing business as Town Place Suites, Westport Wine and Spirits, White's Restaurant, Wild Honey Cafe,
Hold.
Wingate's Cakes.
Entertainment, want to continue, or maybe you want?
Cooksit Club Inc., Bad Kitty, doing business as the Back Eddy, Bittersweet Restaurant Inc., Buzzards Bay Brewing Inc., Holiday Lanes, Holy Ghost Club of Westport Inc., Oriental Pearl, Porta Ciudad, Ted Cousins, Brick Oven, WANR Willette Post number 8502, Weatherlow Farms, Westport Club Inc., Westport Rivers Inc., White's Restaurant.
A few more, Manny, if you'd continue.
Holiday Lanes, Oriental Pearl.
It's under amusement.
Well, the amusement licenses, okay. Let's see, are there any more, or is that?
In holders.
In Holden.
In holders, Cooksit Club Inc., Hampton Inn, Pocatuck Inn, Westport Town Hospitality, DBA Town Place Suites.
Okay, that completes the list. Thank you for all reading so eloquently. Now what I would like us to do, as we discussed earlier, is on those that have not been put on hold, which is the overwhelming majority, I would entertain a motion to approve, or any discussion on that as
So
well.
moved to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Any further comments on those that were not on hold? Okay, looks like we're ready to vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed? There are no opposed, so that passes unanimously. And Paula, what are we looking forward to in terms of the further activities, as I alluded to earlier? Will all of these be ready for next time, which is?
They may not be, we'll just bring them
Okay.
in when we can bring them in to
Okay.
discuss. This is
So-
up until 24th, so.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask you.
Between now and,
Do we need a motion on it, or we just leave it open?
I think we need a motion.
no, I think they.
We don't
We
need a
just,
motion?
they're just pending.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the others would just need to be more research. Okay.
Yeah, and then we'll make appropriate motions.
Very good.
Okay, thank you. That concludes that item. That was very efficient. So, that completes licenses and permits. We'd already made a couple of appointments and resignations. So we're at 3C, if I'm correct, is request from Chief Pelletier to reappoint Michael Chicka as full-time police officer effective 9/19/23.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and Jim advises that this is something that we do habitually where we, for a newer officer, that is like every year we approve that they move to the next,
First 3 years.
first 3 years. So that's familiar to us. Motion made and seconded, discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. The next item is 3D, request from the building commissioner, Ralph Souza, to appoint David Gonsalves as an alternate per diem wiring inspector.
I'll go with the town administrator's recommendation to approve. Move.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion?
And to Chair,
Yes.
no, I'd like to, I think this is gonna be great. David's one of the wire inspectors in Dartmouth. He'll be a benefit to the building department.
Okay. Well, glad to have him on board, and thank you for those comments. Okay, any further comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
I have
opposed?
to abstain, he's a client.
Okay. I thought everybody's in town is your client.
He wishes.
Okay, so I assume that's 4 in favor, and none opposed, and 1 abstention. Correct? Thank you. That motion carries. The next item is a request from Chief Pelletier to appoint Jacob Mock as full-time EMD 911 dispatcher. Jim Hartnett, I believe, recommends.
It's not on the sheet, but he probably moves it forward. It's from the chief.
Yeah.
My wife's gonna kill me, but I'll move him. He's currently a custodian at the schools. My wife. They're down to like 2 as it is. So.
I'll second.
A motion made and seconded, and discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion
We'll
carries.
check on you tomorrow,
Unanimously.
Steve.
Yeah, okay, we'll see if you're getting by. All right, that concludes appointments and resignations. Action items is section 4. 4A is one that may need some explanation just because of the way it's worded. Select Board representatives to meet with Finance Committee. A little background here, and Jim would say the same thing if he were present. So Karen Rouse of the Finance Committee, the chair of the Finance Committee, has recommended, and we've done this before, is to have the Finance Committee, representatives of the Finance Committee, representatives of the Select Board, and representatives from the school committee and the administration to meet on I'll call it an ad hoc basis, and discuss the town finances, the fiscal year budget for '24, for '25. Also in there's a 5-year plan required on the part of, I believe, the town administrator, a 5-year financial plan, both capital and operating. And this is a good practice and one that we can iron out differences and concerns. And of course, with the override failing, things are even tighter than it normally would be. So this is a good practice. We're going to do this on an intermittent basis. And Karen has sent out a request for people to participate, and requested that there be 2 representatives from the Select Board. Now, the first meeting was to be held last week. It was not. It was postponed until October the 10th. But because of the tight time frame, I went ahead and agreed to participate in the first meeting, which didn't occur, and Shauna also did the same. But we felt we need to come back to the Select Board to take a vote on this and to appoint 2 people, and also to give others a chance to participate as well. It shouldn't be just me.
You both still want to participate? You both FinCom, so
Well, I'm willing to participate, yes. And Shauna?
Johnny's still up to it.
So I'm happy to participate. I'm also happy to have someone else do it if someone is interested.
I'm not the big numbers guy. I don't know if Danny likes playing with numbers.
But I do want to just point out that before we've had it's been kind of an informal working group. This time we want to make it more formal with public open meetings that are posted and kind of official meetings, not just like working meetings. But I'm happy to do it, but I'm happy to give it to someone else also, given my personal circumstances.
Right.
Do you want me to step in if you
Want to alternate? Yeah.
Because my schedule's pretty tight, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to miss some of them. I mean, we've got meetings coming
Yeah,
up
it's getting
for
crazy.
building and then
Welcome
West
to
Point
all
Affordable
of
Housing. So, I mean, I'm happy to, I don't wanna stick you with it, but it might be difficult for me, is all I'm saying.
No, I'll do that.
If you could do an alternate thing, maybe,
All right.
you know, I will try to go to everyone, and then there will be some I miss, and there will be some you miss, and
Does
between,
that work, Sean?
oh, we can't
I'm
go three at
fine.
a time.
All right, so I'll move that Chairman Brewer, select person Shufel to be the regular appointments with Ann Boxer as an alternate.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Okay, is that clear? I think it is. Let's appreciate that. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries unanimously. Yes, I look forward to that.
Thank you.
I wish I could take it, but I'm afraid I can't.
I can make it.
Now, the next item is for B. This is the police chief position. You have to go on to the next page for the parts of this. So there's 3 bullets here. I'll just take them one at a time. The first is to appoint the preliminary screening committee to screen candidates for the position of police chief. Recommend representatives from the finance committee, and they would be Al Lees, or a representative would be Al Lees from the finance committee. From the personnel board, Cindy Brown would be the representative. And the select board, Paul, you may have to clarify what this means, because it says and select board, then it says
We have
police.
to pick 1 or 2 members
Yeah, it doesn't,
from us.
I think we only need 1 here.
We got one on fire, so I'm on it.
Well, this one is to appoint the screening committee, right?
Screening
So
committee.
they're proposing a representative from the finance committee, personnel board, select board, the police chief, and the town administrator, which is similar to the fire chief one, right?
Right.
Right.
I mean, it was,
So we just need to figure out who wants to do it.
I mean, I
I'd volunteer for that one.
You want to do that one? All right, so Manny can do that.
Okay.
I'll second. So do we want to appoint the whole committee? Is it the right people on the committee?
But Jim, I think Jim was favorably disposed toward this.
And
Yeah.
did we direct on the fire one? Did the select board make the fire chief a non-voting member, or how did we do that?
The,
It's written down.
yeah, the fire chief was non-voting. I know the chief went, like, to touch base with him. I know he wants to be involved in the process. I'm not sure if he cares if he's a voter or not. I don't think I asked him that directly.
Okay.
But the fire chief one, he's not a voter.
Yeah, Mr. Hartnett has given us some notes on this, and I'll just read what he said. It's basically what Steve just said. For the fire chief committee, the chief was not considered a voting member, but he is participating in the process. So Chief Pelletier, Chief Agenda is a non-voting member. So it says, the select board, us, will need to appoint 1 or 2 members to the committee and decide if Chief Pelletier should be a voting member. I would suggest, as we did with the fire chief, that the chief should not be a voting member, just to be consistent. I don't-
Yeah,
Still involved, yeah, that's fine.
Mr. Chair, do we know if Al Lees and Cindy Brown have been sent from their committees already, and so we should name them, or should we create this committee with unnamed positions?
Well, I believe that they were, but I have to check with Paul on this. Jim doesn't say that here in his notes.
Do you know if they were appointed by FinCom? They were, okay. So I move appointment of the police chief screening committee composed of representative of the finance committee, Al Lees, the personnel board, Cindy Brown, Manny Thors from the select board, the town administrator, Jim Hartnett, and police chief Pelletier as a non-voting member.
So I second the motion. Okay, motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Is that clear? I think it follows suit with the fire chief. So let's see, it's time to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None?
I just have one more question. I did miss the meeting, so I might have missed this. Did we accept his resignation?
Not yet, I don't think so.
No. It was only at the last meeting, there was a letter that the chief submitted to us, and Jim made mention of it under the liaison report.
So we have not officially accepted
We have
his
not
resignation
officially
yet.
accepted
Okay.
that.
And we didn't post to do that, so we probably can't do that tonight.
Yeah, we should do that the next time. Paul,
Okay.
maybe you can take a note of that, so we don't forget that.
Or is there some, I know there's different rules for police, so do we, it seems like we would have to accept his
Yeah,
resignation.
well, maybe let Jim come back and give us the advice as to what we should do to go about this next time, Paula.
Okay.
But he didn't, there was no motion to accept the resignation. And yeah, there's a difference between the fire chief and the police chief, the so-called strong,
Mhm.
whatever that means. Anyway, All right, so I think that's clear. Okay, the next item, next part of that is approve the revised job description. Did we have that in the package?
We did.
Paul? Yep. I didn't get a chance to review that, so everybody is satisfied with that?
Do we know, so I agree with the town administrator's recommendation here, but do we know who participated in the creation of this job description?
I don't know that. Paul, I don't know if you know that.
Probably Jim and Keith, Jim and the chief pelletier. Okay.
Now that reminds me, would there be the need for the personnel board to look at that?
No, it's the contract position.
Okay. All right, so there is a revised job description. I did not participate in it, I don't know, so, but it's in here. So anyway, and the third item here, the third bullet, is to post in-house.
Well, I move approval of the
Okay.
job description for the police chief.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, none, and no opposed. Now, in proper order, the third bullet is to post in-house application, I'm not sure about the verbiage here, post in-house application deadline October 13th. Paula, does that mean,
You want to post in-house with a deadline of Friday the 13th to
Deadline
submit.
is October 13th.
oh, okay, I see. The application deadline for those interested for the posting, okay. But we're voting here to post in-house for this, those who wish to apply. Okay,
So moved.
I have a question.
Well-
I'll second, but I have a question.
okay.
So with the police chief, we did a more comprehensive, with the fire chief, we're doing a more comprehensive search and did not post in-house first, right?
Yeah, we did. No, we posted in-house first.
We posted in-house
Yeah.
first?
Yeah.
Okay, we did, all right.
Same process, pretty much.
Okay, all right. I thought we did a more comprehensive search for.
No.
No, okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I hear none. The motion carries unanimously. Okay, thank you. The next item is C, review executive session minutes policy. We alluded to this last time, and we had just some information on that. This has to do with executive session minutes that no longer serve a purpose of not being released. So the release of these minutes is something the open meeting law requires after they have been reviewed. It's not that the purposes in keeping them basically secret is no longer appropriate. And Tim King had done some work on this. We decided to put a policy in place. It's not an official policy, but simply a checklist to do this, say, once a year. We did talk to, Jim Hartnett spoke to Attorney Jenkins, and what we're dealing with here is mentioned by Jim and notes he gave to me, but in connection with the review of these executive session minutes, you should ask the question whether or not the original reason for entering into executive session remains in force and in effect. So if it does remain in effect, then they still will remain under lock and key, so to speak. If not, then they should be released and made available to the public upon request, I believe it is. So let's see if he says anything else here that's of importance to us. Anyway, so what we have put in place is a general policy, and it doesn't say this, but I think it's supposed to be annual, as we discussed, Paula, that,
To review annually, it says.
It says annually.
okay, I missed that, all right.
The italics that you just read in connection with, those were Attorney Jenkins' words from 2016. That's why it's italicized.
Yeah.
When Tim King had looked into it.
Yeah, let me read the rest of that. I have not seen the minutes which are the subject of review, says Attorney Jenkins, but I would say that in matters of employee discipline, and most definitely on the issue of employee medical information or workers' compensation issues, that the reason for the entry into executive session remains in effect, and that therefore those documents remain private. So that's just him giving us his advice. And these are just examples. There could be others. So in any event, those that don't meet such criteria should be made public, and the process here would be to review and determine which ones do and which ones don't, and then in a future meeting, we would approve the release of those executive session minutes that no longer serve their purpose. That's what this is all about. It is a housekeeping chore, but one that is strongly suggested by the open meeting law. And it's not a very big burden unless Paula tells me
The
so.
burden for Paula.
And it's in executive session.
Yes.
They would have to be released.
Yeah, that's right. They
So
have-
just so that, you says, I went through all of the meetings, and you guys were right, there was another one done since you've been here. I found it in the minutes that I found, so I had to go back and forth and find some minutes and, different things, so I've just a quick, I mean, I know you can't see that, but the color coded, so Jim has gone through this and recommended what could be released and what should be held still. So those would be reviewed in executive session and voted on, and then we would release them.
Perfect.
So it's just like a color coded, which we'll all have when this comes up on the meeting.
Nice, thank you.
And Paula, would we be seeing these at the end of the year, or what's the timing of it?
That's the policy that we're trying to get into
Yeah.
place as to when, he had said, he had mentioned semi-annually, but I did it through 22 now.
Yeah,
So I suggested to him that maybe, in 23 we do 22, and then, in all of 23 and 24 type thing.
yeah, okay.
You'll have a lot carry over, because there's still a few that are carrying over,
Yeah.
even from these.
Okay,
So I would say maybe in the last quarter.
okay. Well, you have to do most of the work, so we'll accede to your wishes. All right, well, that's it. So we'll have a policy in place. Jim insists that it be an informal policy that complies with the open meeting law. We have been in compliance, but we just want to tidy it up. We want to make sure we do this on a regular basis. Okay, I don't think we need a vote on this, do we?
No.
By consensus, you agree that we should
It
do that?
says it's not supposed to be an official policy.
Okay.
So I would think.
All right, so by consensus, we'll move forward and advise Jim that this has met the approval of the select board. Okay. Now, the next item is D, request from the planning board for comments and recommendations regarding the definitive subdivision plan entitled Plan of Land as Assessors Plat 52, Lot 20A, Westport, Mass., prepared for Kevin DePont, Gregory Nicholas, and Shane Souza, and located between 278 Drift Road and 312 Drift Road, map 52, lot 28, proposing to divide the property into 9 lots. That's what before us. I believe there's material in the package for us. And this is simply us being requested if we have any comments or recommendations to the planning board. We may or we may not. And that's up to the committee. So what is the pleasure of the committee on this item?
I have no comment.
No comment at this time.
Okay, so no comments? Okay, so I assume by consensus we will advise the planning board we have no comments on this particular item, and they should proceed as they usually do. That was item D. Okay. E was already covered, and that was the Council on Aging monies, donations. F was taken care of earlier. That was the base, open the base scallop season. G, request from Chris Gonzalez, Highway Surveyor, to award the Chapter 90 pavement improvements contract to Rochester Bituminous Products Incorporated of 83 Kings Highway, West Wareham, Mass. zip code 02576. So there is some detail in the package, and I think this is a fairly routine matter. I think we discussed this before because people were wondering what bituminous meant. And as a former resident of the city of Pittsburgh, that has to do with coal mining.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. This further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries unanimously. Paula.
I'll make one comment on the bituminous. So it's also called bituminous concrete, just means it's asphalt, just like cement concrete.
Okay.
I just want to note on here that includes the town hall driveways and parking lots.
There you go.
I know there's probably
Actually,
other roads in these items,
I
but
did review the bids and the number, like last year, that's why they actually used the Matari number to do some stuff that the planning board had to finish. And we were actually able to come in like a subdivision that was 10 years old and still come in within the money, which was really good. So and if we're looking, this year it only went up a little bit. And I think if we're looking to pave anything, we should look to jump on board and piggyback that contract.
39,000 cheaper than the next
yeah, it
one.
was quite a bit lower than the next one.
Okay.
It's based on the tonnage, so if we, you know.
There's another item which is similar. It's H, also relating to bituminous products. Request from Chris Gonzalez, Highway Surveyor, to approve notice to proceed. So further, the earlier one was to award. This is the notice to proceed for Rochester Bituminous Products Incorporated, 83 Kings Highway, West Wareham, Mass. What is the pleasure of the
So
committee?
moved.
Second.
Just so the public knows, it's for the work to begin October 2nd. Only another week away.
Okay. A motion made and duly seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries unanimously. Okay, the next item is I. It's the request to post the cemetery laborer positions, laborer and laborer 2. What is the pleasure of the committee? Jim recommends we do this.
Move it.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Comments, questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries unanimously. J, the last item in this category, is the request from the Westport Education Fund in conjunction with the Friends of the Council on Aging and the Westport Middle High PTO to hang a banner. There you go, another banner, Steve.
I know, but I sent an email on this. I'm not sure if they're gonna be on the roads, if they ran it by the police department yet.
Was there anything in the package? I didn't see it.
Do you know?
This was approved back in May,
We
or
approved
back
the
in
walk?
August. The walk and everything is approved.
Oh,
This is
good, okay.
solely for the banner.
Yeah, and this
Okay.
is to hang a
I
banner
want
for
to say it
the,
was May.
yeah, let me just, for the record, let me just finish reading this. To hang a banner for their annual Walk for Westport. It's upcoming on this Saturday, right?
Sunday, October
Or
29th.
Sunday, this Sunday.
October.
Oh, October, I'm sorry. Yeah, so that was
This
already...
weekend is the Harvest Festival,
I'll move
How
it.
can we keep track of all these events?
because there'll be a banner on the road.
I'm looking at the cars in front of me, I'm not looking up at the banner.
I moved it.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries unanimously. All right.
The next item, Jim and I were working on for 2 different agendas. That's not on this
Yeah,
one.
it was just a placeholder. There were no discussion items tonight,
No.
other than what we've already talked about. Jim is not here, so there's no town administrator report, so we'll expect a lengthy report when he returns. Manny, we are looking for the approval of the minutes of September 11th, 2023. What is the pleasure of the secretary and others? Do you suggest we
Oh,
move
I
it?
did approve the minutes, yes.
Do I hear a second? Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. The motion carries unanimously. The next is the report on the bill warrant.
I reviewed it, it looked fine, it was a small one, I signed it.
Okay, thank you. We don't need to approve that. 9, Selectmen, Liaison, Committee Reports and Suggestions for Future Agenda Discussion Action. That's a mouthful, but you've seen that before. Okay, we'll start this on this side for no particular reason. Ann?
We had a long-term building committee meeting, went very well on Wednesday. They put some policies in effect to help us move forward on a very quick timeline to try to get something together so that we have a solid request or recommendation before town meeting. So that was it. It's moving forward. No decisions have been made.
Thank you. Sean?
There's a Climate Resilience Committee meeting this coming Thursday, so we'll see what's going on there. There've been 2 the school building steering committee meetings to just approve funding. I do want to point out there was some representation that the pump failure that happened on the first day, that school is going to have to pay for that. That's in the school building committee. It's partly under warranty, partly under the spend of the school building committee. So it's not, it did not affect the school's regular budget. It's in the building committee's budget. And that's all I have.
Okay, on my side, for future items, it's early, but we're starting to look at the calendar for next year, the Board of Selectmen calendar. And Paula and Jim have been working on it, and we'll discuss this at a future meeting and give you handouts, but we want to make a couple of changes. But as we learned this year, when you change one date, it's like a chessboard, and everything else moves. And so we have a couple of spots where we have 3 meetings in 1 month, which is probably not necessary. But then we have to decide if we want to skip another meeting, and sometimes there's a gap of 3 weeks, and sometimes, in one case, a gap of 4 weeks. But anyway, nothing critical, we're well in advance, but we will talk about that and get it right for next year. And a lot of good work went into that. Moving on, the Audit Committee will be meeting next Monday, October the 2nd. I did attend the last meeting of the Directors of the Council on Aging. I'm the liaison, I'm not a voting member. And we discussed, among other things, the role of the liaison and what you expect of me as liaison. There really aren't any guidelines on this. I also asked the Council on Aging as to what they expect, and there are a lot of different reasons over the years for having a liaison. Long story short, it seems to me at some point we ought to have a discussion about that. I don't know if that really serves a purpose. A better idea might be to have them, if they wish to come in here from time to time, as other departments do, and talk about some of the things like Beverly did tonight, but maybe in a more formal way. They appreciate and like the idea of select board involvement in what they do, and maybe, Ann, when you were there, you heard the same sentiments. There are some problems because they expect me as liaison to lobby on behalf of the Council on Aging on matters of finance, budget matters. And I don't think that's an appropriate role, because the budget is a zero-sum game. If I'm lobbying for them, then I'm sort of favoring them over some other department, and I don't think that's appropriate. Also, the purview of that is really Jim and the Finance Committee, and they do have a liaison from the Finance Committee. So it's been a lot of things that the liaisons have done over the years. I think it needs a fresh look, because I'm not sure it serves a purpose. All of those members are duly appointed. They do a good job. And they actually have a couple of vacancies now, and they'll be coming to us in the near future to talk about that. So it might be a topic for future discussion, no particular hurry. The last item is I received a request from Carol Friedis, our veterans agent, and Veterans Day is Saturday. It's always on November 11th, but this year it's a Saturday. She's looking for a guest speaker on behalf of the Board of Selectmen to make introductory remarks. I'm willing to do that, but if somebody else wishes to do that, I'm willing to step aside. So does anybody else want to do that on Saturday,
Make us proud.
the 11th? Okay, well,
All yours.
if you so insist, then I will be there. I think I've made remarks the last several years, and I enjoy it every time to be with the veterans, although I'm not a veteran myself. Okay, Steve?
Bike committee, we had a meeting a couple of days ago. They're gonna be coming to us for requests to go forward with a grant for the trails, a trails grant application. So there's still, Gail's betting, still going wild, trying to get us money and to try to move the bike path forward. Fire chief, we had an applicant from town, we expect to bring it to our next meeting. Really well done. Jim's gonna make sure everything's done correctly, and he'll present to the board hopefully next meeting.
That it?
For now.
Thank you. Manny?
Okay, on the long-term building committee, as Ann had said, we've got a accelerated timeline a little bit here to get some stuff done for the town meeting. Kind of my feeling is that we're kind of kicking the can down the road again. And so we voted to hire a facilitator to use some of that money that was appropriated at town meeting to get us to make a decision. So a couple of members on the board were, trying to rehash stuff about school use and so forth. But what I think is, with some of the meetings that we've had recently, what I think we should be doing with the facilitator, because we have, it's just not the high school that we have situations with. And it was kind of determined in some of the meetings that the building inspector is qualified to make the assessment on what we decide to do with it. And I know that the building department is short-staffed, and like we said, with Dave Gonzalez coming on board as per diem electrical inspector, but I would like to just entertain the possibility of this money that we're using for a facilitator for this, if we could use that money as an assistant building inspector to Ralph, that could maybe facilitate the committee on what we're gonna do with these different buildings. we also have some major issues, as we know, in the annex. And I've spoken to a few different people in departments, and I mean, the sentiment that I'm getting from the community is that they want the building for municipal use, which the school department's still using it for offices, which, and they're using the daycare there. So I think all of that still can work well. I mean, there was reasons why we didn't redo the high school, and we built a new high school. So I think in the future, I agree that we need to address what's gonna happen with the schools in the future, but I think, again, that would be in the same direction, that we'd be looking for a new building versus spending, because that's where the numbers of, 26 million and stuff to renovate versus, we're still using the building. We can expand the use of it through our building inspector or a building inspector.
Are there any code issues with
No,
that?
I mean, the building inspector can answer all those questions.
Mhm.
I mean, like, I actually talked to the town nurse, because when we did the walkthrough in the school, I looked at the nurse's station and found out that they were actually using the cafeteria for clinics. And, I asked her if she thought there was any issues with that portion of the building. I believe we could move the annex in with some paint and some new furniture. Then we got the other issues with the annex. I mean, the annex is, we're gonna throw money at the annex when, we got Title V problems with the annex. We have a daycare in the basement of the annex, and the septic system's backed up. We had the toilets and problems where they had to replace all the fixtures. Last week or the week before, we had a plumber in there again that, was stuff flooding down in the basement. I mean, there's a daycare in the basement. And I'm not sure I believe they were a landlord to this daycare that's in there.
We are, yeah.
It's one of those things that the septic system over there, in which we had asked Jim, there's no plans for a new septic in there, but however, that septic system has been not in compliance since 1995. So we, as a town, we also have the same, our Board of Health has done the cesspool stuff to our residents, but we have to look at the building that we have, so we're grandfathered, we don't have to replace that septic system. If it's not a public health threat, and if you maintain it, I can agree it's not a public health threat. But we don't have to, because we don't transfer our hands of it, it doesn't have to be a Title V upgrade. We have to follow the rules like everybody else. So I think the building inspector I think we have more code issues in the annex right now than we would ever have in high school. So I think this money that we're gonna spend, I think it would be well spent if we put an assistant to the building inspector and used it in that direction to come up with, either that or the other thing about kicking the can down the road, let's put it on the ballot. Do we want this for yes or no for municipal use offices? Instead, I just see some of the same discussions coming up, and I wasn't involved in all of them, but I've looked back at some of the things, and when people come to me and say, well, we discussed that in 2 committees prior to this, and it's still just going on and on. So I'm just trying to prevent, I think ultimately, for the reuse of all of our buildings and the repairs that we need to go in them, if we did it out of our building department, it'd be money well spent.
Let me ask a question that, more on process here. We've been talking about this only with your report on the liaison, which is not really a posted item. Is this a discussion that we should elevate to an item on our agenda in the near future? To get, I'll call it a full rendition
Yes.
from your membership, and are you the chair?
No, Chris
Sarsher?
Thrasher.
Okay.
I'm the vice chair.
Yeah, it might be, this is everybody's asking about this. And I'm also wondering about how this comports to the direction of town meeting, which was to not just hire a consultant, there was wording in there, I think you had mentioned, Shauna, even including a project manager. Yeah, it was a long paragraph that included a lot of different parts. It sounds to me like simply hiring a facilitator to help a group reach consensus, which is a good idea. I mean, I've been the subject of facilitators in the past, and they can be very productive, but I think this is bigger than that, my own feeling. I'm just wondering if we're getting to the point where we ought to have an open discussion on the open session, and have, you know, a lot of handouts and things, and because at some point we will have to vote on this. And I don't know when that is, but in that presentation, timelines might be put forth to say when we can expect to have this decision, that decision, when the Board of Selectmen are going to do this. I would be interested in knowing, does this go before the voters at some point in time for excluded debt? But anyway, all of the above. It's a big project, big. Okay, well, I appreciate your comments, and we'll put it on the agenda. Maybe that's something I ask you to work with Jim on. Would be a
I
good
would
time
think,
for that.
think a little bit outside the box too, have the auditorium area as the Westport Arts Center where they could get their own grants and whatnot, in the south end where the gym is, some kind of sports.
No, that was another thing, we did get the presentation, that was,
Right.
I mean, they put a lot of effort into that presentation.
But if we could get both ends rented in between, have the offices there, and you gotta look into, the highway department being there too. So,
That's the big difference, I think, right now, and kind of where we're headed is in the beginning last year, they were looking at what to do with the building as a whole, sell it, but now we're looking at it as all different options, like kind of dovetailing a lot of different committees in there together, and so it kind of has moved forward. It's moved forward. There's just a lot of unanswered questions that need to be answered quickly. And it's got to be quick, because it just can't continue on. It
Yeah.
just can't.
Okay.
parking in the front too has gotta be figured out.
Yeah.
That's an easy one.
All right, well, that covers it for tonight, but we'd look forward to more on this in the future because of the importance of this project.
Sounds good.
Anna, you in agreement with that approach to do that?
Yes.
Okay. And that's, anything else?
Oh, one other thing on Infrastructure Oversight Committee, which Steve's on with me too, there's a meeting tonight, with
Oh, what's up?
planning board's present, and we have one of our members is at that meeting, all the politicians from Fall River, and because the tri-community study
Right.
between Tiverton, Fall River, and Westport. So I expect that it's an update, and it's trying to put the olive branch out to Fall River and move forward with stuff over there. But in that respect, you know, being water commissioners, you know, kind of the stuff that came up with the Macumber Loop and EPA regulations for PFAS, I think we need to have some kind of meeting of water commissioners and discuss, like, look into what our contract is with Fall River and what our options are gonna be in the near future. Most definitely with not necessarily, we do have the whole design for Route 6 complete already. So I looked at the grant application for the Macumber. So that was the EPA PFAS stuff, with the new regulations that came in the beginning, I think around January. And they're changing the threshold of testing. So kind of what happened is, it was a good, Kleinfeld recommended that we would go for the grant, but we don't have a design yet, so they're not gonna be able to apply for that grant until March of next year. Which I'd like to understand that maybe, we have the design complete for Route 6 for water and sewer. Why didn't we just throw that out there this year, try to grab some of that federal money? I mean, I've been trying to get that question right now, but I think if we kind of do something in the future, like the near future, with the selectmen being the water commissioners, to try to get this ironed out. And that was kind of some of the feedback I'm getting from Fall
Okay.
River.
All right, well, let us know when we need to do something, whatever it is. Okay, anything else? All right, that concludes that section. The next item is comments and statements. This is for the public. If any member of the public has a comment or a statement. We do have a member of the public here.
My name is Ruth
Go to
Rasmussen.
the mic, please.
Oh,
People at home can hear you.
basically, I have questions.
Not allowed to ask questions, it's comments or statements. I say that not facetiously, but we don't have, whatever you're going to talk about is probably not a posted item for tonight. And this is simply an opportunity,
Okay.
but it may be something that we, upon listening to you, may agree to put that on the agenda.
I am with the East Bay Media Group. I'm filling in for Ted Hayes tonight.
Oh, okay.
And I had a couple of questions that I would like to present to you as individuals after the meeting, but if you're going into executive session, I will.
No, we're not.
No executive.
Okay.
We could-
So that's,
Well, I think we could entertain your comments or questions right now. I mean, I don't want to make this too, like a straitjacket.
okay, so I don't normally cover Westport, as you know. I worked for this Crown at times, but one of my questions has to do with the police chief's letter of resignation. And my wonder is, how long has he been working here? Is he leaving to go to another community? Is he retiring, or?
The police
are you-
chief?
The police chief.
Police chief, yeah.
And perhaps Ted has already covered this.
He's retiring.
He's retiring.
He's retiring, okay.
Yeah. He's been
And-
chief for about roughly 20 years, and he was on the department before that.
Okay, great, thank you. So he's been with Westport for a long time?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yep. Well,
Yeah, probably, I think 34 years, I think, around 34 years.
It's been a long time. Should check with him, I guess, though, yeah.
Yeah.
And my other question has to do with those who voted against the motion regarding the no-wake zone. And is it safe to make the statement that you were concerned about enforcement? I don't know if you want to individually give me a comment about your reason for the no vote, but you can choose to or not. It's up to you.
Yeah, I can answer on the side if you want. There is still some deep sections within that, and the main, like so has brought up, there is concern in the shop corner where it's deep, and it should be marked as such. And we'll continue monitoring it. He already said there'd be a problem keeping an eye on it, and like Mr. Levy's statement said, that you know we've already got bylaws about being 400 feet offshore. So there's a number of things already in place. We had a resident speak that it's a concern that he wouldn't be able to travel at a reasonable speed too, at high tide. So while there was people speaking for it, there was also at least one resident speaking against it, and he's a former police officer. I believe he was on Marine Patrol, so he has an idea of what's going on out there.
Okay. And any other comments?
I just felt like it was being done by one specific group of people or targeting another specific group of people, where we, as Mr. Simcoe said, there hasn't been any complaints from people on the water, or it's just coming from one simple neighborhood,
It's just coming from what?
from one neighborhood.
Okay.
My feeling was from my own personal observation, would be enforcement. And the buoy was not gonna help anything with enforcement, because they're still gonna have the issues. To restrict the law-abiding citizens and people using the waterway, I think it was too restrictive to take their rights away.
Okay. Thank you, appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for clarifying too. A lot of reporters don't do that.
I have a question.
Ah, as a member of the public,
Wow.
okay, okay.
Is she allowed? Is she allowed to have a question?
See what happens when you finish
You would have
your
done it before.
Yes, Valerie Bain, Public Access Coordinator. I air the House of Representatives, and on August 31st, they had a bill relative to Westport, and I was just wondering if you're aware of that, if that has to do with the name change of the select board, or...
We've requested it for a while, but
Town meeting voted for that a long time ago. We had to petition the legislature to change the name from the Board of Selectmen to the Select Board. I don't know why it's just now coming up, but
But
town
that's
meeting
what it
voted on it a
was.
couple years
That's
ago.
what
Boston.
Oh, did they
We
pass
weren't updated.
it? Did they pass it?
I don't know whether they forwarded or whatever, I didn't know it, but I'm airing it, so if you want to watch it.
Paul, we haven't got anything yet, official?
Could you check with Mike and Paul?
Yeah, because that's like 3 weeks ago.
Because we've been waiting for that for a long
Yeah.
time to be the Select Board.
It shouldn't have been
instead
that
of Board of
difficult, a lot of
Selectmen.
communities changed it, so.
Yeah.
But I don't think they okayed it, I think they forwarded it, so.
Committee?
Yeah.
Oh, bro, okay.
Yeah, Jim Hartnett, the town administrator, was following up on this of late. And I know he spoke personally to Representative Schmidt, because I was there when he spoke, and he was following up on it. And yes, I think a citizen sent us, I think, a letter or an email pointing out, well, you had seen it, he or she was reading something about that.
Yeah.
And I believe it is related to that item, but we'll follow up on it. Good
Just
question,
curious,
Valerie.
yeah, okay.
Good question, thank you. Okay, once again, we always remind the public about boards and commission vacancy list, and that's on the website, and we have had a number of positions filled of late, and we're happy, but there's still a lot more, and we always thank our volunteers in the town of Westport. Item number 12 would be the topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of the meeting. I'm not aware of any. Paula, do you have any? Okay. There is no executive session tonight, even though it was listed, but it had nothing underneath it. So there are no executive session this evening. So we are ready to adjourn if there would be a
So
motion.
moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.